We're going to get back to this debate that has really fascinated all of you because we've gotten so much response on our website about this issue of hot saucing. This, if you weren't watching last week when we were talking about it, it's a controversial form of child punishment where a parent places a little hot sauce on the tongue of their child as a way to control bad behavior. It's not a pleasant experience, and the overwhelming response to our story, 431,000 hits online, made us want to look a little bit deeper into well, whether the practice has serious long-term effects on the kids. And so joining us live from Minnesota this morning are Diane and Melanie Butler. Now, Diane gave Melanie some hot sauce and other punishments as a child, and we're going to talk to them about it. Also with us, author and actress Lisa Whelchel, who promotes using hot sauce in her book Creative Correction. And from Los Angeles, Dr. Harvey Karp. He is a child development specialist who opposes the practice, and I appreciate all of you being here. Diane, Melanie, let me start with you. Diane, you did use this when and why?
I used this when my children were younger. They're all grown now, so it's been several years. And I used it for different reasons, maybe lying, or if they were swearing or being very disrespectful to us as parents.
So something that related to verbal indiscretions, in effect, so that it was related to the mouth.
Yes, it was something that was verbal, and they knew what was happening.
And did you use this as a first option or a last resort?
No, this was a last resort. We tried to talk with them and use other kinds of talking to them and that sort of thing. But then this was a last resort, and of course, most of the time, it was used only once because then just the idea of using it and telling the children, "Did you want, the Tabasco sauce, the hot sauce?" Again, that was enough to say that was enough.
Melanie, do you remember it?
Yes, I do.
And do you have any idea how often? Do you remember what some of the particular indiscretions were that you got punished this way?
I had it once. I was between the age of 7 and 9. I don't remember the exact age, but I had lied about something. And in the beginning, if you tell the truth, the punishment isn't as bad, and I would have just gotten like timeout or sent to my room. Well, I kept lying about it, and then it came down to, well, you're going to have to do extra chores around the house. Well, and finally it came down to when I did tell the truth. My mom, I knew beforehand that I would get hot sauce on the tongue, and so she had just the littlest bit on the tip.
Go ahead, a little bit of the tip of the tongue, and you knew it.
Yes, and I knew that was what I was going to get. And a little bit of Tabasco sauce, and I lived through it. It really wasn't. It burned for about 30 to 45 seconds, and I was fine.
Would you have children of your own?
Yes, I have a 3.5-year-old daughter.
Would you, when that child gets older, do the same thing?
Yes, definitely. As a last resort, if nothing else worked before.
Dr. Karp, let me turn to you. Obviously, this is not a first option, and there are parents who might use this in anger or might overuse it as an option, but are there times when timeouts or when other punishments don't work that you need to resort to something that indeed will cause pain to a child?
No, absolutely not, Charlie. I mean, the problem with most parents, and as these nice people tell you, it's when you're desperate, when nothing else is working. And we need more training to get a driver's license in this country than we do to become parents. These techniques like timeout and ignoring and logical consequences all work beautifully, but you have to know how to do them. It's not something that we all automatically learn growing up. So, for example, the parents who use the techniques in my book usually within a week experience 50 to 90% fewer temper tantrums without any fear or intimidation. We would never allow people to do this to their spouses. Our culture doesn't approve of that. We don't even do it for convicted felons to inflict pain upon them. So why would we do it to a small child?
Because that child, as Melanie just said, remembers it, doesn't do it again.
Well, you're right. You need effective parenting. And what you're being told here is that what was being done was not effective. putting hot sauce on the tongue, or some parents will tell you that just a rap with a wooden spoon, or flicking a child in the face, or washing their mouth out with soap, those were all the things that worked for them. And I'm not saying it can't work for some children, but there are other children and parents where it can cause really serious problems.
Lisa, I mentioned that you have this in your book. You've put it, it's a long book and it's only 3 lines in the book, but are you amazed it's gotten this kind of response when we discuss it?
Well, I'm amazed in that regard, because there are hundreds of ideas in there that are there's some positive reinforcement, there's some stories to reach a child's heart, there's creative, fun correction, all of that. But I do believe that there are times when you do need something a little bit more effective. I mean, yes, try to talk to your child, try to reason, but in answer to the doctor, as far as we wouldn't do this to a neighbor or a person, or a spouse.
Right.
You know what? There is an authority structure in the home, and there is a place for the parent to be the parent and the child to be the child, and there is a place to draw the lines and to take that responsibility. And if a child crosses over that line, then to say, sometimes it takes more than "don't do that. I told you not to do that. If you do that again, you're going to sit down for 15 minutes. I think there is a place for the parent in love. Those two are not mutually exclusive, to be the parent. And that gives a child freedom. I think it's a myth that freedoms are given to a child just because that is the right of the child. I believe that freedom is given to a child who feels safe within the structure of boundaries, and they know there is somebody bigger than them. That's not a bad thing, to know that your parent's bigger than you. That's a good thing.
All right, thank you all very much. It is an interesting debate, as we said, which has really touched a chord.